Hello, everyone, and I am here to announce Victober 2025, the 10th Victober. Welcome, everyone. I am so delighted to be here to talk about what the 10th Victober is going to entail. It is going to be such a fun time. And the first thing that I want to say, we thought in order to really celebrate this 10th one, we might want to do some things differently. And so this year we are going to have 10 hosts for the 10th Victober. It's just going to be so much fun, and I think that these challenges this year, if you're into the challenges, you're just going to have a great time. So if you had not heard about Victober before this video, welcome. And Victober is an abbreviated way of saying Victorian October, and so it's a celebration of Victorian literature that's published between 1837 and 1901 from the United Kingdom. And it has just forever changed my reading life. It's been so fun to explore kind of lesser known authors and explore more of the catalog of well-known authors. And I feel no less excitement about Victorian literature, and I only feel more excitement. So it's just going to be a lovely, lovely time. And I will tell you kind of each host's challenge, and then each host is going to have recommendations to give you with their specific challenge. So with these 10 challenges, I want to say that the challenges are completely optional. If you read one work of Victorian literature over the month of October, then you have successfully participated in Victober. This is for those out there who like to kind of make a game out of Victober and want to just see another way to kind of expand the Victober fun. So if that sounds fun to you, then here they are. If not, you do not at all have to feel obligated to participate. So with our challenges, though, with 10 challenges, that is quite a feat to kind of rack up all those challenges. So we do have a achievement system, and you can decide kind of what level that you want to get to. So if you complete 1 to 3 prompts, you reach Mr. Micawber level. So for those of you that are familiar with the story, David Copperfield, Mr. Micawber is a character who kind of struggles to do life and to make ends meet. And so I thought for that bottom level, it could be fun to have Mr. Micawber. And then for complete 4 to 7 prompts, somebody who is a bit more competent than Mr. Micawber, we have the Jane Eyre level. So if you want to do 4 to 7 prompts, then you can get up to the Jane Eyre level. And then we have, if you complete 7 to 9 prompts, you are at the Sherlock Holmes level. And then I love that Katie came up with if you complete 10 prompts, you are the Dracula level because, as she, and I quote, she says, you have to be an immortal, magical being in order to complete all 10 challenges. So I will now talk about the challenges, and I think these are a lot of fun, and there's a lot of room for really personalizing your TBR because a lot of these are extremely flexible kind of challenges. So the first is my challenge, and that is read a Victorian work where friendship is featured. And this I felt like is pretty flexible, that there's friendship in many, many works of Victorian literature. And I do also want to say, a work means that it could be a novel, it could be a play, a novella, a short story, some nonfiction. you have a lot of options there. So I think that there, you don't just have to pick up the big tomes to participate in Victober. If you want to read shorter things, that's still a great way to celebrate as well. And I will give some recommendations after I go through the rest of the challenges. Then Katie of Books and Things fame, the creator of Victober, her challenge this year is read a work of Victorian literature that is not a novel. So a play, short story, poem, or work of nonfiction. And on Katie's video, she will have lots of wonderful recommendations for you there. And then Marissa's challenge is to read a work of Victorian literature where a character experiences a change in class status. So social mobility, rags to riches, fallen women. And I will link Marissa's video down below. And her channel is Blatantly Bookish. I forgot to say that earlier. So glad that Marissa is a host yet again. And then another returning host is Roz from Scallydandling About the Books. Roz's challenge is to empire spotting is the kind of official term for it. See how many times you can spot signs of the British Empire in your Victober reading. So this is kind of a in hindsight challenge that you will do. And I am really curious, once I have kind of eyes to look for it, how much I will see it, because it is just such a big part of that era was the British Empire. And so looking forward to seeing that. Okay, then we have some new hosts this year, which I cannot wait to tell you all about. So first is Elizabeth from Literary Princess. And she has really just delved deep into Victorian literature as part of her studies. And so she's definitely going to have some really unique recommendations for you that you wouldn't maybe hear about from anyone else. So we're all in for a treat. And Elizabeth's challenge is to read a work by an underrated Victorian woman writer, meaning not the Brontes, Elizabeth Gaskell, George Eliot, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, or Christina Rossetti. Those are definitely the bigger names that you hear. So dare I say, Charlotte Mary Young could qualify for this challenge. I just am very pushy with trying to get plenty of people to read Charlotte Mary Young. And then Hannah, I am so excited that Hannah is joining us. And her challenge is read a Victorian work that discusses education. And I am really looking forward to kind of picking this out, because that is a theme in a number of works. And then Jess from Instagram, and her Instagram handle is Dickens and Docs. And I am just so delighted that we have an Instagram host this year, because there's a very vibrant Victober community over on Instagram. And Jess does a lot of Victorian literature content. She's always a very big cheerleader for Victober, and you're just in for such a treat. So if you haven't yet followed Jess and are on Instagram, you're definitely going to enjoy following her content. So Jess's challenge is step back in time, read a Victorian work set in a different era. And I just think that's such a cool challenge, a way to look at how the Victorians viewed other eras in history. And it will just be really, really cool to kind of see the different things that people end up picking up for that. And then Milena from the channel Milena Reads. And I am so delighted that Milena is joining us. She has such cozy kind of reading vlogs that she does, and I always love seeing what she gets up to reading during Victober. So her challenge, and I love this is very much something that she has done on her channel, is spin a digital color wheel and pick a Victorian book with a cover that primarily features that color. You can pick any edition. So that will be really fun, and I am looking forward to spinning my color wheel. And the 9th host is Roy from the channel Roy Reads Anything, and he has really a wide and varied taste in Victorian literature. So if you definitely want to have some really different kinds of books out there, I think Roy's content will be especially appealing to you. And Roy's challenge is to read a Victorian work of fantasy. I already think I have my book picked out for this, and I'm very, very excited for it. And then last, but certainly not least, our final and 10th host is Catherine of Taking Tea with Catherine fame. Catherine has been so fun to follow, kind of her Victobering over the years, and it just feels so right that Catherine is one of the hosts this year and for the 10th Victober. So Catherine's challenge is to read a Victorian book that has a connection to Jane Austen. I'm really looking forward to seeing Catherine's recommendations for this because it will help guide me, because I want to, I just want to see what all the options are that are out there. So those are all of the challenges. And then we do also have a group read going, and the group read is being discussed on Discord. So I will link the Victober Discord channel down below. There will also be a lot of fun chatting back and forth happening in the lead up to Victober, because everyone loves to kind of share what they're picking for the different challenges, and also tossing around ideas, do other people have recommendations? So if you want even more recommendations, even more Victober fun, even before Victober has officially begun, the Discord is a really fun place to hang out. So the group read is Hester by Margaret Oliphant. Full disclosure, I tried Hester once and I DNF'd it, but I'm determined to try it again, and hopefully there have been other Victorian books that I have DNF'd the first time and then really enjoyed. I'm really hoping that is the case with Hester. Okay, my challenge of read a Victorian work where friendship is featured. I have a very long list of recommendations for you. And first on the list, and it will come as no surprise, that I have some Charlotte Mary Yonge on this list. And the first book is The Young Stepmother. This is a lovely story of family life. That's a lot of what Charlotte Mary Yonge wrote. And so I think that one of the, what do I want to say, like novels that feature friendship, I also included siblings that are friends. And in The Young Stepmother, it is starts out when a younger woman marries a widower who has children. And she comes into this household that is very kind of dull and lifeless and dreary, and she brings life and vibrancy to the household and really transforms it. She also becomes friends with some of her stepchildren, and then the siblings themselves are friends with one another. So for those of you that want more kind of domestic slice of life, I think The Young Stepmother could be a wonderful, wonderful pick. And the next one is another Charlotte Mary Yonge. And so if you want a shorter, if you're trying to fulfill all the challenges, if that's fun to you, and you want some shorter ones on there, this could be a good option. And it is called The Stokesley Secret. And it is, I would say, a novella, and it's another one of family life. There's a family where the mother is very unwell, and the father wants to take her to London to see different specialists in the hopes of kind of restoring her health. And so this book follows the family while the parents are away in London and their governess is caring for them. And they just there's a lot of heart to this little novella, and I really enjoy spending time with this family and getting to see the rhythms of their life, kind of the day-to-day rhythms, specifically with schooling and play and different occurrences that happen. And it's just very, very endearing. The next one is The Cloister and the Hearth by Charles Reade. This is a historical fiction, so it can also count for Jess from Dickens and Doc's challenge. And it follows a love story, and it's kind of a star-crossed lovers story. And so you're very invested and you want to know if these two lovers are going to end up together in the end. But Gerard is our main character, and he has this really lovely friendship with a French character named Dennis. And I loved seeing their bond that they have and some of the travels that they go on together. You don't see their friendship throughout the whole novel, but the parts that are in there, it's just really a lovely relationship to follow. And then you could also do some letters for this. People are often writing to friends, and there are some really good options. There is a great collection of Elizabeth Gaskell letters. And if you don't feel like buying a whole book, to fulfill this, you could just look up a letter online. Also, Charlotte Mary Young has some really lovely letters that can be viewed online. I have been reading some of Robert Louis Stevenson's letters, and I have thoroughly enjoyed those. Charlotte Bronte, I know there are some of hers that you can find online, and Charles Dickens, Wilkie Collins. I mean, the options are just endless. So you could really, if you feel like trying to, check off all the prompts, that could be a really quick way to check this one off. And I have really enjoyed doing some Victorian letter reading. And then the next one is Maud, the Illustrated Diary of a Victorian Lady. So this book is out of print, but it is readily available online, and I think it's just worth every penny. It is a delightful diary that she has filled with her own watercolor, and it's just a lovely, lovely view into her life, and she was full of fun, Maud. I really wish we could have been friends. So seeing kind of the antics that she gets up to. She's a young woman from a well-to-do family, so she can kind of be a bit of a social butterfly and go out on outings with her friends and have lots of fun, and it's just hugely enjoyable. And then the next one is The Moorland Cottage. So Maggie is kind of the main female protagonist in this, and she becomes really close friends with Erminia and then her cousin Frank. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It's a little novella by Elizabeth Gaskell, and George Eliot actually was so inspired by it that she wrote The Mill on the Floss. But I do prefer The Moorland Cottage, and so it's Elizabeth Gaskell is so good at making shorter work feel very complete and full. And it's just a really lovely book. And some of Gaskell's descriptions in it are just astoundingly beautiful. And then the next one is Moonfleet. And Moonfleet is all about John Trenchard, a young man who kind of gets caught, he gets caught up in a smuggling scheme. He lives in Cornwall, and he ends up kind of running into and then becoming friends with a character named Elzevir Block. So you get to see their friendship throughout the novel, and Elzevir is somewhat of a morally gray character, but I think that makes him all the more interesting to follow. And the next one I want to recommend is The Story of the Treasure Seekers / The Would-Be Goods, both by E. Nesbit. This is all about the Bastable family, and it is children's literature and so funny. And these, getting to see everything that these siblings get up to, and they're not always very well behaved, and the whole title of The Would-Be Goods in the second one is their attempts to be better behaved, but they aren't always successful. And then another one with a really lovely sibling friendship is Deer Brook. It is about two sisters, Hester and Margaret, who, after their parents die, move in with relatives in a very small insular town. And there is a lot of small town gossip and just nosy people wanting to know everything about them and their lives. And I think that people who like the domestic slice of life kind of Victorian literature would really enjoy Deer Brook. And then the next one is The Woman in White. And The Woman in White, if you're wanting some autumnal atmosphere, this is definitely going to check those boxes. And there are two sisters in this, Marian and Laura. And to see their bond and how, like, the lengths that they will go to for one another is really moving, and has you so invested in the story, following along with them and everything that's happening. Then a play, The Importance of Being Earnest, and Algernon and Jack. I mean, The Importance of Being Earnest, I feel like it needs no introduction. It has quite the reputation. It is extremely funny and entertaining, and yeah, you would not be bored for a single second if you chose to read that. Then another children's literature pick, and that is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald and Irene and Curdy, and their friendship, getting to see them go on a sort of quest, and it's just really, really lovely getting to follow their friendship. And then we have The Barsetshire Chronicles by Anthony Trollope. There are so many friendships in these, I didn't even bother with listing them just because there are so many, and you get to know this whole web of characters in the world of Barsetshire. And it's one that I'm definitely planning on rereading, and it's just such a delight to be lost in that world. And I really do recommend the whole series. It's very memorable, and one that as soon as I finished, I thought, oh, I cannot wait to reread this at some point in the future. And then Adam Bede by George Eliot. This is definitely a more harrowing story, so you have to go in kind of ready for some heavier things. And Dinah and Hetty, their friendship, and in particular, just all of the care and kindness that Dinah shows to Hetty is quite moving. It has one of my favorite scenes in all of literature, and Dinah is just one of my favorite characters. And she is a Methodist preacher, which when are you ever going to see that in Victorian literature? So it definitely feels very unique compared to many Victorian novels, and just full of twists and turns. And then we have David Copperfield. There are two friendships in this one, David and Steerforth, which those of you that have read David Copperfield already, you may feel a bit conflicted about that as a friendship, but it's definitely a friendship. But also the one that I love so much is David and Peggotty. Peggotty is his maid growing up, and she's like a second mother to him. And the bond that they have is the sweetest thing. And I always just feel so fond of Peggotty thinking about that story. And then Three Men in a Boat. It is about three friends going to travel along a river, and it's extremely funny. And kind of sailing can bring all sorts of challenges. And then we have Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. And this is about a young woman who is kind of an outcast in society, and she's taken in by these siblings who I wrote their names down so I wouldn't forget them, Thurston and Faith Benson. And that is my favorite aspect of the novel, is getting to know the characters of Thurston and Faith and seeing their relationship with Ruth. The first time I read Ruth, I felt quite underwhelmed by it, and then I read it again a couple years ago, and I was like, what was I missing? This book is absolutely amazing and gripping, and I just really, really enjoyed it. So it's a Gaskell that's not spoken about as often, but I really enjoyed it. Then we have The Jungle Book. If you're in the mood for something really different, Baloo and Bagheera, they are a bear and a panther, and they are definitely friends, and they are both very much advocates of Mowgli and his well-being. And The Jungle Book is just really different than a lot of other Victorian picks. So if you wanted some variety, that could be a really good option. Then another Gaskell, and that is North and South. And our main character, Margaret Hale, becomes very close friends with a man and his daughter, Nicholas and Bessie Higgins. And to see how they have this friendship that sometimes they perplex one another with their sort of cultural differences that they have, but they have this really strong bond of friendship despite all that. And it's just lovely to see kind of the journey that their friendship takes throughout the course of the novel. Then cannot not recommend Wives and Daughters. So there's two friendships that I was really thinking about this. And one is the stepsisters, Cynthia and Molly. Now, I know some people might feel conflicted about this friendship, some of you that have read it, but as I keep coming back to Wives and Daughters with my annual reread, I think more like they really do care about each other. Even if it doesn't always feel like a kind of they give equally to each other, they still do really care about each other. And there are certain details that I just love about their friendship. And then the siblings, Roger and Osborne, they are very close. They are kind of oil and water. Their personalities are very different, but seeing the love and care that they have for each other is a really special aspect of just that book as a whole. And then lastly, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So Pip and Joe, Joe is his much older brother-in-law, and he's such a gentle giant. He's so kind to Pip, and it's so lovely to see. And then also Pip has two friends later on in the story. One is Herbert Pocket, and then Mr. Wemmick, and they're both delightful friendships. And even, I know people struggle with Pip as a character, but he does have some lovely friendships. So that is not at all an exhaustive list. I'm sure there are many other, but I can't just list every single friendship. I hope that you enjoyed the ones that I did recommend. I am really looking forward to seeing what everybody else ends up picking, if they're going to participate with the prompts. And if you're not participating with the prompts and you are just doing whatever you want. I'm excited to see what you pick. And I do have some fun Victober content coming for you. And over on my Patreon, over the months of September and October, we are reading Our Mutual Friend. It will be a reread for me, but the first time I read Our Mutual Friend, I read it in a week and it was way too rushed. So I'm really looking forward to taking 2 months to read it this time around. Yes, so thank you as always for watching, and we are getting very close to this 10th Victober, and I will be back. I think I'll be back maybe a little bit before Victober with a Victober TBR, but then I have some fun Victober content coming for you. So thank you for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.